has been defeated in this party's case, then that's a breach of the fundamental right, and no executive officer, no government authority can sit in judgment on the fundamental right. It is the court which does that. And the result was they lifted the ban. The Supreme Court was together on that. He was the Chief Justice at the time. They lifted the ban. I could say much more about him, but I want to move ahead. I want to move to the subject which may be of interest to you. And this is the subject of minority rights in Pakistan. Thank you, I'm here. Our constitution, as Mr. Bahad just told us, assures freedom to profess religion, to manage religious institutions, subject to public order and morality. Our constitution in Article 21 safeguards particular religions against taxation for the purposes, it safeguards against taxation for purposes of any particular religion. So for no particular reason can other religions be taxed. Article 22 safeguards educational institutions in respect of religion, etc. No religious instruction or ceremony in educational institution other than one's own religion is to be given to the students. No citizen can be denied admission to educational institutions which receives aid from public revenues on the ground of race, religion, caste, place or birth. Basically, our constitution says everyone is free to profess their religion. All citizens have equal rights. There is no discrimination amongst them. And yet, for years, our minorities have felt discriminated, have felt sidelined, marginalized. It is in these circumstances, in the year 2014, some 9 years ago, the Supreme Court, under the charge of Chief Justice Hussain Jilani, who sits with us right here, took up this challenge and came up with directions to protect the rights of the minorities. There were several directions that were issued. Directions about curriculum, directions to ensure that there is no hate speech on social media against minority religions, directions that a National Council for Minority Rights be established, a task force be established, and a special police force be established to protect religious places of worship. A job quota for minorities at 5% be ensured, and similarly an admission quota in educational institutions be ensured. For many years, these directives were carried out under the charge of Mr. Shoaib Satal, who sits right here. That was a one-man commission. He worked strenuously, selflessly, and achieved many objectives. I may agree with Sabahat, there's a lot more to be done. But pursuant to that judgment, there was movement and a great deal was done. Today, the minorities see that judgment as an umbrella which protects their rights. Today, the Supreme Court acts as a facilitator vis-a-vis the government authorities who have been cooperative we must not overlook the fact, ladies and gentlemen, we have been through at least 3 decades of extremism. We have lost 80,000 citizens in this country to extremism. And by the grace of God, the situation is improving, and a lot of the complaints regarding violence which the minorities had, and even Muslims had, because of sectarian rivalries, they have diminished. I think that resilience which the Pakistani nation has shown through these turbulent times is a great credit to the people of Pakistan. And with great respect, also the state of Pakistan. Things are on the mend. A task force which was not in existence has come into being recently on 16th of November 2022 under the chairmanship of the Additional Secretary, Ministry of Religious Affairs and Interfaith Harmony. The members of the task force include almost all important executive functionaries in the country, which means that the issues relating to minorities protection and minorities rights would now be handled by persons who are directly related and who have authority over the persons that will carry out the instructions. I have hope and expectation that this task force will do well. Our association with Mr. Sadhu continues because he is a court appointee. The court has a special implementation bench. 9 years have passed, but there is an implementation bench for this judgment. And today I have been mentioned a few issues. I said file an application. You see, courts cannot pass executive orders. We cannot act on verbal statements or complaints. These matters come to us through petitions or applications. Each notice is issued to the concerned parties and respondents come forward and an order is passed after hearing the parties. But these are public interest proceedings. There is nothing adversarial about that. And I may assure you, for quite some time I was the chairman of the implementation bench. Now it is headed by someone else. And we always found cooperation from the government of Pakistan, as well as the provincial governments. So, nothing to despair about. Be positive, and inshallah, we'll progress further in this direction.